we've got ex-Muslim on here. Ruslan, I think he may want to challenge something. So definitely before I even begin to close down the show, I need to make sure that my audience members have the ability to have their say on the show. So Ruslan, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, Kalam, basically, I've just been reading about the Hermetica text, and it says here that this was written in the 2nd century AD. So Christian philosophy might have actually influenced this text and not the other way around. So it's not that Christianity borrows from this text, but rather this text borrows from Christianity. So even if there is a similarity, you cannot say that this is a borrowing of that Judaism or Christianity borrowed from this text, but rather this text, from the evidence that the fact it was written in the 2nd century AD, actually borrowed from Judeo-Christian thought.
Not quite. Oh, God, you want to answer it?
Please let me.
Let me say
right,
twice.
As you don't want to jump on that. Go ahead. Who wants to jump on that? Go ahead.
Let me get him first. I'm gonna leave the pieces. Not quite, family, brother ex-Muslim. When you look at the naysayer in particular, because he was big on saying that the scriptures came from the Jews, they went to Giza and Saqqara to find the text in the ancient Hermetic system, which predates anything Christianity. And when you find those texts and you find the discussions about Atum Ra, etc., in Giza and Saqqara, you know clearly that you were built after that. And 2nd century AD is when I think they put the final touches on the Hermetica. The Hermetica was started before the 2nd century. So you'd be incorrect in that. And as a matter of fact, the naysayer you're talking about, I'm gonna pull his name up here in just a minute. And I'll let my brothers go from there.
Sorry, so you're saying this text existed before the time of Christianity?
I'm saying it existed before you had that verse in the what's the opening chapter of the Bible?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Yeah, what's the name of that opening chapter? Genesis. Yeah.
Sorry, so you're saying Hermetica was written before Genesis?
I'm saying the knowledge of the Hermetica from Giza and Saqqara predates your Genesis.
Where's your evidence of that?
I can add that.
Where they pulled from. Where is your evidence that Christianity predates your Hermetica?
Christianity, pardon?
Where's your evidence that your Christianity predates the Hermetica? When Clement of Alexandria closed the Per Ankhs and forced those who were hecking the chair praises of the divine to go into Christianity, our scriptures were hidden into what? A form of Bible, huh?
No, I'm saying if Hermetica was written in the 2nd century AD and Christianity already exploded onto the scene from 1st century AD, so would it not be the logical conclusion to say that if there is any copying, it's actually the Hermetica copying from Christianity and not the other way around? And please, can you provide your evidence that the passage where it's talking about the mind of God and the Son of God and the light, that this text is written anywhere before the time of Christianity? And please,
I'm trying to get that through the beginning of the show. As he read the scriptures, I would also read portions of the Hermetic text from Giza and Saqqara. So from the Giza and Saqqara predates Christianity. So we know where they got this information from, because they said they got it from Giza and Saqqara, right?
Giza and what?
I saw. Let me help you, yeah, because this is the problem you're gonna have, yeah, and I'm gonna help ex-Muslim because he's not getting it. You see what you do, Asar, which is the right way. You're mentioning, the history like Saqqara and everything, and you can see ex-Muslim. You can already tell that he's not. I don't know if he's aware of the type of things that you're explaining. So what we should have done, really, because remember we're still dealing with the people that's in religion. So he holds the Bible very dear to him. So what we got to do is just go into the text, into their paradigm. So then when we go into their text, especially when you're dealing with the Genesis, yeah, we know any of those stories in the Old Testament, they credit that to who? Ex-Muslim. Who's the prophet that's credited for the first 5 books of the Bible? Just quickly. Ex-Muslim.
The Prophet Moses alayhi salam.
Okay. All right then. And obviously in the story of Moses, from where does it say that Moses was educated?
In Egypt.
All right. So then now this is now where you lay down the foundation.
So do you reject
You get to the meat. So now, what does it say about Moses' education? What does it say? What does it say? What does the verse say? Because you know, he was learned under the Egyptians and was mighty in words and in deeds. Now, what we was basically showing you, what Asar was basically showing you is, if Moses, is learned under the ancient Egyptians and he was educated in Egypt, we know that the stories that we are talking about with Ra, Nun, Nanette, you know, all these stories were already in motion. So this is further proving the point.
No. I think what you've just said is a bit of a. The passage is talking about the Father and the Son of God, and how the Son of God emanates from the Father, and it talks about the light of this world and things like that. Please provide me for some evidence of this that comes before Christianity, and please provide the text and the provenance of these texts.
Okay. So basically, Asar, what he basically wants now is, if you kind of saw, because maybe you might have missed the early
talking about Moses and everything, which is a
hold on, Ex-Muslim, because Asar, I think you missed the early bits of the show when you was mentioning Ra.
Right. If he wants to challenge it, we can set up a show and we'll start to break down the text and the scriptures, because I got the Sakara books over here. I don't feel like digging through my books. I read some of them while we were doing the show, so you can always go right back and check them out. But I'll go dig them out, and we can come back on here and we can talk about where the evidence has come from Sakara and Giza, as opposed to from your Bible.
Okay.
Are you ready to do that, Ex-Muslim?
And please, you made the claim that the doctrine of the Trinity was borrowed from your Kemetic philosophy. Please teach me where your Kemetic writings teach us that there's one being of God shared by 3 divine persons, because you made that claim.
Okay. Anyways, so family, we're here.
Black Madonna. Oh, go ahead, Brother Titans. I ain't even hear you. Go ahead.
All right. We're here, baby. We're live right now. All right. We're live right now. And we've got my brother Ex-Muslim and Proud on trying to grill what the Kemetic family is saying. So we better get it in, family. We better get it in. We're going to go in for a little bit extra time, just so we can actually have the brother in right now, really put forward an argument. And we should be able to, if we are really grounded in what we actually know, okay? What we know. We don't need to deal with beliefs, remember, what we know. It should be quite easy to respond to the claims that the brother is making. So, my brother Ex-Muslim and Proud, could you just restate the claim that you made at the beginning? And wait, before you even do that, actually, were you watching the show from the very beginning? Just to ask.
No, I wasn't. I was coming on and off.
Okay, so go on. Restate your question again, please.
All I did, I never even heard of the Hermetica before like an hour ago, right? And I've just literally done a quick Google search, and I read up about it, and it says here that it came from the 2nd century AD. So if anything is copied, it is that that Christianity had an influence on these texts, because we know by the end of the 1st century AD, Christianity exploded in all directions, and this could have influenced the Kemetic or the philosophy in this text, where it's talking about the Father and the Son and the mind and the Word, and also
No, Ron, can you stop right there?
Okay,
so your claim is basically that the Hermetica was influenced by Christianic thought. Is that correct?
I said maybe. I say if anything copied anything, we should conclude that Hermetica copied from Christian thought rather the other way around.
Okay, and why would you conclude that?
Because the text of the Hermetica comes in the 2nd century AD. So when John's gospel, written in the first AD, that calls Jesus the light of this world and the Word and God and things like that.
John was written in which AD, did you say?
Well, there's a debate amongst this, but anywhere between 70 to 95 AD.
Okay. And what century is that?
That's first century.
That's first century. You sure?
Well, yeah, 90 AD is first century.
Continue.
Right, and that's all I wanted to say. So if anything copied anything, and unless you can provide evidence that that there were texts that were talking about a Trinity and the biblical understanding of a Trinity, not partialism or modalism or semi-Arianism or anything like that, but rather the understanding of the Trinity was understood before the advent of Christianity itself. And you please provide any evidence for that.
We could do both. Number one, the Hermetica is first century AD. That's one thing you messed up on. And your Bible's around the same amount of time. So first century AD is when you get your Hermetica. First century
Where's your evidence?
As they were doing the content. All you gotta do is Google it like you Googled the other thing.
I did
It's
Google
not
it. It says second century AD.
This is what you do. You hop down to the second one. It says the Hermetica are Egyptian Greek wisdom text from the second century AD. But if you would have went up above to your Google, it says it seems that the Corpus Hermetica text was written between first century and third century AD.
So it's written in the third century.
So you already messed that portion up.
I haven't messed anything up. It's you just said.
Oh, you said second. It's the first. So get your numbers right.
Where's your evidence that it's the first century AD?
Well, we just covered that. Where's your evidence? You went to Google. I went to Google with you, and I corrected your second century to the first.
No, it says here they were likely redacted between the first century and third century AD. That's a massive amount of time. Is it closer to the third century AD or is it closer to the first century AD?
That's the first century. You keep putting first, and somehow you came up with the second as deductive reasoning because you wanted to hit the middle. First century would be what they told you. So the other portion you made up.
No. If the text evolved from the first century AD to the third century AD, that still means that the Christian philosophy could have influenced the Hermetica text.
No, and I told you if you wanted to do a show on it, I cover because I know the guy you're talking about back in that time frame that tried to claim the same thing, that it was influenced by the Hebrews or the Jews, if you will, and he was debunked because they went back to the Giza and Saqqara text.
And the Giza and the Sahara text talk about the Trinity.
Real quickly, let me just quickly do a little something for you guys so we can just, have some, Google ship going on. Authorship, date, and origin. The Gospel of John is anonymous according to church tradition, dating from the 2nd century, first attested by Irenaeus. The author was the disciple whom Jesus loved, mentioned in John 21, so forth and so forth. So again, with the Gospel of John, we can say it's in the 2nd century. Or some authors can say it's in the 1st century.
The Gospel of John does come from the 1st century AD.
Well, I believe it's between 92 and 110, I believe. Let me just.
If you look on the Gospel of John, it says here a minority of scholars also believe that it was written around the year 70 AD. My point is, right, most scholars date the Gospel of John to the year 90 AD. That's the standard, what you find in textbooks and things like that, that the Gospel of John was written in the year 90 AD. And we know from the works of Eusebius that John the Apostle lived well into old age. So he wrote his text on the stimulus of trying to combat some of the heresy that was prevalent at that time.
Okay,
so what comes first to 90? Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Kalam.
One second. So what we're seeing, okay, just to put things in perspective for our audience to kind of see, engage. I'm not even going to go into second gear. I'm just going to stay in first gear right now so we can really understand. So based upon some Google ship, okay, and I'm saying Google ship, that we're seeing that the Hermetica is either the 1st century, 2nd century, and so forth, we're seeing that the Gospel of John is either in the 1st century or the second century, but we can claim, let's just be generous and claim 1st century, okay? So we're seeing that it's roughly during the same time period. Now the question is, okay, the question is, how are we making a claim either way? Okay, how are we making a claim either way to say that this gospel, okay, has now influenced the Hermetica was copied from the gospel? How are you making that claim?
Oh, Kalam, I could return that question to you. How are you making the claim that Christianity was copied from Hermetica?
No problem. You can say that, and I don't make the claim that Christianity was copied from the Hermetica. Okay, so before you even do that, and we can go down that route, when you made the claim when you came on, so I'm just going to tackle that based upon what you're saying.
All I thought what you're trying to say is that the Hermetica text had an influence on Christian philosophy, and I, by looking at the time, and I said if there was any influence, looking at the time periods of the two texts, the most likely conclusion, if there is a conclusion, is that Hermetica copied from Christian philosophy. And I don't have necessarily 100% proof of that, but I got
You needed to listen to the show properly. That's
if
your problem.
Well, if I misunderstood you, then I apologize. But that's what I got the impression of.
No problem. Because I see, okay, family, we need to be a bit more cautious and studious, okay? Very cautious and studious. Cautious should be our number one word. That should be our watchword. Be very, very cautious when we're making claims. Like, that's what I mean. I try my very best not to make certain claims, because if I know I can't provide any evidence or prove it, I'm like, I hide behind sources all the time. I always say scholars are both brave and cowards. Why? Because they're cowards in the sense that they hide. Sorry, brave in the sense that they will fight anybody, yeah. But cowards in the same sense that they will hide all the time and shield themselves from reproach based upon their evidences and their sources. So I already know, my brother, that I'm just leading you down a trap that really I know that you just Googled it, quick Wikipedia search, and you've seen 2nd century, and you haven't really done any thorough research into this, but you're making a claim based off some tick for tack that you're perceiving. Okay. Personally, I don't say that the Trinity was copied from the Hermetica. No, I think we was pointing out the similarities between the two. Okay, we'll point out the similarities between the two. Did Kemetic philosophy on a whole influence the Trinity and influence Judaic thought? I definitely would make that claim. Yes, I would make that claim.
So you are admitting that Kemetic philosophy influenced Judeo-Christian thought? Of
course. That's
okay.
I think most biblical scholars, okay, if not all biblical scholars, and any historian of repute would actually say the same thing.
Can you give me one?
I'll do it like this, my brother. I'll do it like this, because you can open up your Bibles.
Wallace Budge, James Breasted. These are all people funded by a church. There's also a preacher amongst them. They all went over there for the church to find out where the biblical scriptures came from initially. If you're not familiar with who Egyptologists are, which is why we generally try to separate ourselves from them, because we are not the church and they were. So yeah, those are your people, and that's who went and did the research. You're looking at church folk.
There you go. So that's correct. And I would even suggest just simply opening up any good Bible with a commentary, any good Bible with a commentary, and just read what the the good Bibles with good commentaries, like Revised Bibles, they usually tell you about the sources of the text and so forth, and give textual criticism and so forth, and they will literally let you know that there is a lot of influences from different places from the Near East.
Oh, Kalam, I have
so that's normal. That's normal. Again, if we're going from a textual perspective, which Gabs did bring up earlier on, talking about Moses and so forth. Like, I don't know, it's pretty obvious. It's quite clear that the whole Judeo-Christian paradigm stemmed out of that. So that's a non-starter anyway. But let's go into this because you're making other claims, and I think even us we're making claims as well. So we should really tackle it so our audience members can actually learn something today. But go on. Did you want to say something before we continue?
Kalam, I really do apologize, but you said there are Bibles that say that there was some texts that influenced the New Testament. What Bible are you talking about?
Okay. Usually, if you go into like a nice any new revised Bible or anything like that, you have the commentaries. I wish I had a Bible around me right now to open up and you can just read before the Bible actually starts, i.e., Genesis. You usually have about a good 30 to 50 pages, or 30 to 20 pages, maybe 30, 40, 20, 50. I don't know, depending on how thorough your Bible is. And they'll give you some, commentary on the text itself. They'll tell you about the Yahweh text, the Elohim text, this text, that text, and they'll give you a nice criticism. They'll talk to you about a Sumerian text that's incorporated. They'll give you a good historical breakdown. Then they might even have a map right at the beginning to talk about, this is where certain texts are found. This is where the certain locations that's mentioned in the Bible. Any good Bible that has a
All
deep,
right.
thorough commentary should give you that information.
You're talking about the preface that's usually at the start of the cover,
There you go.
right? But so you don't believe that Jesus is copied from like Horus and
No,
eight?
we don't make it. We're not making that claim. No.
Okay, so
We're
you don't
talking
believe
about
that?
no.
Okay, fair, okay.
Let me also tell you, you probably want to check out the 15 tractates written by, and those are some of the older Egyptian scholars where they took the Hermeticum from. So you just want to dig a little deeper so you can kind of get where the substance comes from. And if you go and dig up some of the older Giza and Saqqara books of what they found in those per ankhs, per as, and some of the regular temple houses, you're going to find a lot of Hermetica sounding texts, and you'll see where they got the foundation from. Not only that, you're going to have the Greek, what do you call it when they deface and debase something? You're going to have a lot of their graffiti in those temples and tombs to show how they got them. So there's proof that they were there. You also find some Muslim graffiti there as well. But that's just so you know.
Yep. So also, right at the beginning of the show, we prefaced it to talk about the Hermetica. Now, the Hermetica is literally a later form of the ancient Egyptian or the ancient Kemetic philosophy, written during the Greco-Roman period. But the tradition, which I made sure I stated before, goes way back into the late kingdom, to the Middle Kingdom, to the New Kingdom, to the Old Kingdom. All of this, can be traced all the way back. But this particular book here, Hermetica, which I held up right at the beginning of the show, is a very nice Western orientated version of the very much more complex ancient Kemetic mythoses that encapsulates the philosophy of ancient Egypt or Kemet. So I already prefaced that from the beginning of the show, and we could literally just trace back every single concept that we made mentioned. The concept of the Father or consciousness, which is Ra. We can trace that all the way back, late kingdom, middle kingdom, old kingdom, new kingdom, and so forth. We can trace that all the way back. We can trace back the Nun principle all the way back. We can trace back the Kek the water principle, the darkness principle all the way back. We can trace back the word, okay, which is the duplicate of the Father, which we can trace all the way back to Jehuti. We can trace back the life principle, which is either known as Tefnut or Ma'at. We can trace that all the way back. We can trace back the principles of three being one. Okay, three being one. I'm not talking about modalisms. I'm not even talking about fractionalisms. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking literally a very similar understanding of the Trinity in terms of the philosophical standpoint. We can trace that all the way back. It's not something that we personally have to do a very thorough search into. I'm pretty sure in most of the shows that I actually touch upon the Trinity, I actually show this, that other scholars were writing about this. Let me just quickly see, is it in here? I know I read this out, not so long ago. Let's quickly see. Right here, whether the Trinity of the divine persons can be known by natural reason. Let me do this because this is literally taken from Google Ship. Google Ship right here. Google Ship. I'm going to quickly do this. Okay. Let's see. Bear with me. Maybe it's not that one. Keep on find question 27. There it is. It still doesn't look like the one. Not the one. Hold on. Bear with me, family. Bear with me. Oh no, it says Trismus Gestus. That's why.
Take your time, family. I'll tell him that when you find the verses of Amun, which you can go right to Hatshepsut's information, she's pretty much every king. If you read their story, they attach themselves to somehow being sired into being by Amun. Amun takes the form of the king and magically impregnates the wife, the queen. And when that happens, it's like an act of the Holy Ghost rising over Mary, if you will. So they say the king doesn't necessarily do it. They say that Amun comes and he does it, and then the woman becomes impregnated. And this is where they first get this story from. And yeah, if I don't have the exact scriptures here around me, I usually just pull it right out the book. But I don't have a lot of the scriptures because I got to go to school in a few.
Sorry, Awesome. What you just said, can we just admit, has absolutely no resemblance to what the Bible teaches?
I can't say that because the Bible says that the Holy Ghost hovers over Mary. I don't know if you remember Ahmadiyya talking to Jimmy Swagger, but nobody wanted to describe how the Holy Ghost was over the top of Mary.
Sorry, I couldn't care less what Ahmadiyya says.
I bet you couldn't.
Bible teaches that the son
Hold
of
on, real
God.
quickly. Before I just wanted to make sure I finished my trail of thought beforehand. So I'm just going to quickly go here, yeah, so I can finish this off and things that Augustus was saying. So just to show you real quickly, it says here, this is a title of it. It says here, whether the Trinity or the divine persons can be known by natural reason. Objection 1, it would seem that the Trinity of the divine persons can be known by natural reason. It would seem that the Trinity of the divine persons. Can I get you lot to mute your mics, please?
Brother Phil, mute your mic, family.
Thank you. It says here, for philosophers came to the knowledge of God not otherwise than by natural reason. Now we find that they said many things about the Trinity of persons. For Aristotle says in De Coelo et Mundi. Okay, the heavens and the earth, I believe. Through this number, namely 3, we bring ourselves to acknowledge the greatness of one God, surpassing all things created. And Augustine says in his Confessions, number 9, I have read in their works, not in so many words, but enforced by many and various reasons, that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and so on. In which passage the distinction of person is laid down. We read moreover in a gloss on Romans 1 and Exodus 8 that the magicians of Pharaoh failed in the third sign, that is, as regards knowledge of a third person, i.e. of the Holy Spirit. And thus it is clear that they knew at least 2 persons. Okay, that's according to that. Likewise, Trismus Gestus, i.e. Hermes, says the monad begot a monad and reflected upon itself in its own heat, by which words the generation of the Son and the procession of the Holy Ghost seem to be indicated. Therefore, knowledge of the divine persons can be obtained by natural reason. Okay, so these are actually people of the church. Actually, I think this is what's his name? Augustine and so forth were making these remarks here. So I'm not even telling you that I'm saying that this is actually coming from Kemet, or we influenced and so forth, or that the Kemetics had the same principle of the Trinity. The certain church fathers were actually coming to that very same conclusions by themselves and promulgating that amongst their Christian audience. Okay, so let's get go on, Gabs.
So, do you know what? Yeah, I was just listening. Yeah, and to be fair,
I can see why you were still going at it and showing the sources, but I think you know, the brother ex-Muslim, yeah, them sources that you were showing him, those are sources that he actually has to go into himself and thoroughly look into it and gain some understanding. Because me personally, I think from the get-go, from when we went into the actual scriptures, yeah, I'm going to say it again, when we went into the scriptures and the brother clearly said that the author of the first 5 books, he agrees, is Moses, yeah. So first 5 books, which is including Genesis, which we was kind of touching on earlier, you know, the creation, yeah, which includes, you know, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, and, you know, and so on and so on, yeah. It clearly says, yeah, in the scriptures, which the brother agreed, yeah, that Moses, the person who he says is accredited for the first 5 books and these stories, yeah, it clearly says that he was educated, yeah, under the wisdoms of the Egyptians and was mighty in words and in deeds. So the question now is to ex-Muslim, yeah, is what was the wisdom, or what was the wisdom and the education that Moses obtained from these Egyptians? What does he suppose that was?
I think I've watched you on YouTube elsewhere before, and I think I've heard this argument before. Are you making the claim that the law that Moses brought forth was basically just a copy of ancient Egyptian law?
Okay, listen to what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I asked you a simple question, yeah, with what the scripture's saying. I didn't mention nothing about a law. I didn't mention nothing about YouTube. I didn't mention any of that. All I said to you was, from what the scripture's saying, it says Moses was educated by the Egyptian and was mighty in words and in deeds and in wisdom. So the question I ask you is, what do you suppose the education was that made Moses mighty in words and in deeds and in wisdom that he got from the Egyptians? What was the education?
I don't know. Please enlighten me.
All right, then. So then now, this is why, if you don't know that, it is very hard for you now to come on and say, what we're saying, or what we're saying, or what we're showing is, you're knocking it off straight away. Like, no, the Kemetics didn't take this, or you have to show me and prove me this. Because
another strong man.
Hold on. The good answer that you said was you don't know. So then what you do is you listen, like you said, you learn, you listen to what the brothers are saying, and then you go and do the research and find out. Because if you didn't know what the education was, guess what the first thing should have been? To go and find out. Go and find out what the education was. What made him mighty in words and in deeds? That would be the first thing I would do. I'd be like, he was educated by these wicked Egyptians, and he was mighty in words and in deeds. I need to go and find out what he was learning for almost 40 years. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would do. So I think before I get why, you know, you're coming up with this, you want to defend the book and that, but I think it'd be very wise for you now to go and search. That this is where you will learn. You can grow now and look into what the Egyptians were doing. Yeah, what schools, what wisdoms was going around, what stories was about. Then you will find out what Moses might have learned. You see what I'm saying? That's what I got to say.
Yeah, I think we should just give him the story. You want me to give you the story, Op? That's what you keep asking for.
Are you talking about Acts 7:22?
No. You want me to give you the story? You don't want the story?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so you want the story. So let me do visual as well, just so you can. Hold on, let me see. Where's my John? First, I'm going to give you the visual.
Can I just say something before you do, please?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. What I got the influence of when I came onto the show, that whoever said that Christian philosophy, that's all I was talking about, was influenced by Kemetic philosophy. And the source that you read from was a book written in the 2nd century AD. And I simply made that is that Christian philosophy came before the 2nd century AD. So mathematically, it could have not. It's not possible that there's a chance that it was actually the other way around, that Kemetic philosophy was copied from Christian thought. Now you're talking about Moses and all this different aspect. I never even talked about that. I never even.
But that's why you made your consumption. If you'd watched from
Right.
the beginning of the show, you would have understood where the information was going. But because you didn't listen, you just presumed of what you heard halfway through the program. And this
I
is where the problem you had.
Okay. Tell me
Right.
the problem I had. What did I miss that was so important?
We missed a couple things. Number one, you said the book was written in the 2nd century, which we showed you was written in the 1st.
No, you didn't show me anything. You showed to me from a line on the Wikipedia page where it says it was redacted from the 1st century AD and the 3rd century AD. So
Right.
that date
And
of
you
reign
said
still
the
allows the
2nd century,
possibility of
which would be
Christianity
incorrect.
influencing Kemetic philosophy.
That could be because we know which culture came before the other. That's the other part. That's historical records. But if we're just talking about when the book was written, 1st century is the consensus. You came in here saying 2nd century, knowing the book you were talking about was written in the 1st century. So you already had a conundrum there.
Okay,
The
show me
second
the
part,
scholar. Show me the scholar which says it was definitely written in the 1st century AD.
well, show us the scholar that agrees with you that John was written in the 2nd century or 1st century when you
Okay,
pulled up
okay.
90
Yeah,
and
I'll
70.
give you the scholar, no problem. Bart Ehrman, Dr. James White, Professor William Lane Craig, Professor Craig Blomberg. I can go on and on.
You
And
can
what year
name
was
them, and
this?
they said 90th, and they all said 70th, and you read the quote from them. Neither of them said 2nd century, and if it was 2nd, that's after the 1st century. Or is our counting a little off tonight?
Yeah, I'm saying that the Gospel of John was written in the 1st century AD.
Okay, so same time, right?
Same time as what?
Well, the Hermetica.
Well, from what I read, the Hermetica was written in the 2nd century AD.
Did you want me to read the Google quote since we're pulling Google quotes tonight before I go into the actual scripture and pull up a primary resource?
That will be for another show.
Yeah. Let me just show him something called the World Religion. This is the Millstone documents.
Yeah, let me give it to you here. Let me give it to you here.
So when you look inside, they say the impact of the Book of the Dead, right? Let's just say the Book of the Dead. I don't know if that predates the 2nd and 1st century, but this is what it's going to say, right? It says, when considering the impact of the text known in modern times as the Egyptian Book of the Dead, one has to keep in mind that there was actually no such thing as canonical Book of the Dead in the time of the pharaohs. Based on currently available documentation, it appears that the Egyptians were the first culture in the world to post a judgment of the individual after death. The concept of weighing the souls of the deceased, right? So then it goes on to say it was called psychostasia, that is so graphically depicted in the vignette accompanying spell 125, influenced early Jewish and Christian texts and images. In the text of Abraham, the apocryphal Jewish work written in Greek in Egypt in the early 2nd century, Abraham is shown a vision of the judgment of the dead by weighing their souls, and the depiction of the scene draws heavily from the imaginary in the vignette spells 125. Early Christian writers such as St. Augustine and St. John Chrysostom use this image in their depiction of the final judgment, and the weighing of the souls is also depicted in the medieval Christian art, with the archangel Michael playing the role of Anubis as the tender of the scales. Now, I'm going to show you something else. Hold up. This is what they're talking about. You see this Stelae right here, boss man? And you see this?
That's the
It was copied, bro. It was copied, all right? This is the Stelae that predates this. Okay? Bang, bang. All right? That's number one, right? That's number
Sorry,
one.
it's not bang bang whatsoever.
No, it's bang, bang, brother.
It's
because
not bang bang whatsoever.
This is the World Book of Art, and I got another one called the Pocket Museum, and these are all the artifacts from around the world.
Can anyone put up the picture in the back chat?
Yeah, you know how I do.
I just put a picture in the back chat.
Yeah, I'll put
a
that
live
in the back
picture.
chat. You know how I do. But you see the Stelae right here? This is a Stelae, bro. This is carved in motherfucking rock out here. And then what they did, they painted it over. All right, we're gonna take the same philosophy, flip it and bounce it. Every car is not the Model T. You understand? You got Lamborghinis, you got hybrids
That
now.
picture
You
looks
got
nothing like
solar.
the
So
other picture.
people are deriving innovations from other innovations, and it's been doing that since the beginning of the time.
Yeah.
So all I'm showing you is the stelae of Amenhotep III and Amen-Ra. All right, and at the bottom is supposed to be Anubis. So archangels at the bottom, right? Supposed to be playing the role of Anubis. Bang, bang, bang. It is
Done.
bang,
Hey,
bang.
hey,
brother.
Phil, just to make the conclusion, just put the picture of the back chat up so
Right.
they can see.
I will. Of course, you know I do that all the time, brother.
Right.
I do
And-
that all the
and-
time. And then another thing I want to show you guys, this is the royal family's DNA. This is the royal family's DNA. You gotta shut up now with this. You understand? You know why? Because when you come over here, what do you see? Right? They telling you where the blood, this is says South African, right? This all the way over here is Tut, right? You see Tut, right? You see this number 1,100, right? If we go across the damn screen, it says South African. You heard? Right? You see African Great Lakes. You see tropical West Africa. So if we come from West Africa, and this is his great-grandfather, right? This is his great-grandmother, right? This is his grandfather again. This is grandmother. This is his father. This is his mother. And this is Tut. You heard? Tut over here. So Tut has all these three components right here. When you go back and you look, is South African, African Great Lakes, Tropical West, Horn of Africa, and you got a couple of Western European. But look how small these damn numbers is of the Western European. Get off of it. Arabian, all you Arabs out there, look, bang, right? We're going to see how much Arab blood they had in them. Nothing damn near. Look at this, 0 point. So we understand numbers, right? Look at this, 21. So this is what they say in Queen T. This is what they want to say with Queen T. Oh, she was European. Why? Because of this bullshit number. But when you come all the way up here to Queen T, she got more of these numbers. You know what I'm saying? Which goes back to where? South African. Tropical Great Lakes. West African. I am West African. So when y'all clowns sit there and try to tell me we can't champion for triumphs off that whole continent, y'all are imbeciles. All right? So shut up. You understand? Go back to wherever you was triumphant at, but don't tell us we can't cheer for Usain Bolt because he's a Jamaican. He's Jamaican black. I'm American black, but I can't cheer for him because I'm not Jamaican. Look, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah. So
My brother, you need to start drinking some chamomile tea.
Yeah, you can say what you want behind the wires. I know
in order
the
to calm
internet is a
down.
great thing for cowards. Say what you want behind the wires, brother. You know
but yeah, but Phil, please put that picture. Put the
I already
picture
did that,
up.
man. I do this all the time, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Stop acting
Just
like
show
I ain't
the
gonna put it in
picture,
there.
and it will show you.
See the numbers? Y'all see the numbers? Y'all can rewind it, go back. You know what I'm saying? Look at the numbers, man. Just look at the numbers. I ain't got nothing to say to you. We got the DNA. All right? We got the DNA. Look at the whole picture. We got the DNA, brother. We got it. All right? So cut out with all this nonsense. You ain't gonna tell us who we are. We tell you who we are. I'm done.
Can anyone put the picture of the back chat?
See, Phil went off on you.
I know, but just put the picture of the back chat.
It will be, like I always do.
Yeah.
Hey, Kalam.
Yeah,
put
brother.
a picture of the back chat up, please.
Huh?
I put a picture up in the back chat.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, snap. That picture's funny. Go on, explain it to them.
It's just the basics. It's just the basic common sense that most of the time of the Christian pilgrimage, when they were hiding, they went into some of the Egyptian temples, which had a whole heap of all the writing, and they put all their predated stuff on top of the Egyptian writing, showing you that the Egyptian writing came before Christianity. Because Christianity, after the years of it being on top of it, it began to crack off.
Where's your evidence that Christianity was borrowed from ancient Egyptian philosophy?
Listen carefully.
Just showed it.
I think we're done showing all the evidence. There's a lot of it.
One,
Look,
Stelae.
before you're just jumping. What you would see, but before they even made a Bible canon, yeah, they were going into the Egyptian temples and putting their artifacts over the Egyptian writing.
where's your evidence?
Can't you see the picture?
Let's have a look.
Yeah, I'm putting it now. Don't worry. I'm starting to put all the stuff now. You dudes is imbeciles, man. You dudes just started getting smart in the 7th century, and y'all want to say and tell us, man. Come on, man. Get out of here.
I think you need to read Luke as well. You got to read your Luke, which tells you how it says in particular, it says to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary, 28. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, you that are highly favored, the Lord is with thee, blessed are you among women. And when he saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and et cetera, into her being conceived with the angel rising over her, as you read down the rest of that list. Our particular picture is I'm in her chapter 3rd spot, and the picture is right here.
You lot don't want to take time with the brother, you lot overloading.
Kalam, man, I tried to help ex-Muslim, man. I told him, listen, go back, because he was stuck on the whole Moses thing and what was the education. He said he didn't know, so I said,
They even mentioned Moses.
but now you awoke in 5th April. You awoke in Asar. You awoke in Mr. Terry. Come on, bro. I tried to help you, brother. I tried.
You see Jehudi and the different Netcheru coming to her. They put the ankh to her nose, and she's immaculately conceived, a child. I'm in her chapter 3rd. This is the story on his wall in his stela. This is how it looks. Now all you got to do is go on over there. You can see the wall. You can read the Medunecha. It'll be a done deal for you, brother. You won't even have to worry about it. Right there it says, Amen. That's too little. They jacked up some stuff.
Where in that on that tablet does it talk about anything that is similar to
immaculate conception? This is her right here. This is them putting the ankh of life to her. This is Jehudi coming to her first, just like the angel came to Mary.
Again,
pregnant.
3 Musketeers.
In her chapter 3rd being conceived. It says it in these here, but this isn't clear enough for me to read for you. But yeah, there's translations of it for you. Or if you want to go over there when I take this trip, I think April or May, you can come on over. I'll read it for you directly. You can get it.
Jeez, you know what? Yeah, I am trying my very best here to protect my Christian audience here from all this type of information. personally, yeah. And you lot are going straight Ray Harachti, on my brother, Please, allow him, man. He's young, he's young. Yeah, and he's getting into this information. He's getting into knowledge. He's quite smart as well. Very, 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 very intellectual. Very smart guy. But I'm fearing, you guys are overloading him, with so much information, that I don't think he's going to be able to digest it all. And unfortunately, in his mind, it's gonna seem as though we're conflating a lot of things to fit into a particular paradigm. And I understand that's where he's going to come from, because we haven't actually done the due diligence to really sit down with him and go from one topic to another topic and really going down in depth and breaking it down. So I'm fearing what we're overloading him right now. But yeah, ex-Muslim, quickly have your quick say. And then I want to proceed.
The thing that you showed to me had absolutely zero resemblance to the angel coming to Mary and saying, you shall have a son. Absolutely zero resemblance.
Exactly. I hear you.
You've provided zero evidence, and you're acting as if you've proved that Christianity was borrowed from Kemet. Come on, man.
I hear you, my brother.
It was proven.
Sorry, just everybody keep your mics muted. Keep your mics muted, please. Unfortunately, to you won't be able to see that. To everybody else who is on the panel or who is in the YouTube video right now, and they understand the Kemetic history and the literature itself, they fully well see it, and they fully well know it 100%. Okay. But unfortunately, we haven't taken the time out. So I appreciate the reason why you hold that view. And I think you are still right to hold that view. In my opinion, I actually do think you're still right to hold that view. The reason being, it hasn't been thoroughly broken down to you. Okay. What would really need to happen is someone to give you some literature to go read and digest and come back with some questions, rather than inundating you with all this information. Okay, because I know a lot of us here, we all know this information and we all can see it clear as day. In ways there, we see the vision with clarity and with joy. But for everybody else, they're going to see it a bit muddled and muddied. So I hear you. Now let's quickly just jump back on to something else. I personally would love to refrain from saying that Christianity copied. Okay, this early on in the game, I would hate to make that claim, to say that Christianity copied or plagiarized and so forth. I wouldn't like to make that claim. I like to be generous, okay, and say that the Kemetic culture, literally, how can I put it? The Hebraic culture inherited and was influenced by the Kemetic culture. I would like to say that, rather than making the bold claims of copying and so forth. All right. And that's not going to be something that's too difficult to try and prove. But my brother, so far what you've seen, you're ex-Muslim and proud. Go ahead. I see that you want to speak.
Right. When we compare, let's say, take the book like the Quran, and we compare it with stories that predated the Quran, we see a very remarkable resemblance with, for example, Jesus speaking from birth, and that's copied from the infancy gospel of Thomas, and the story of Alexandria, and lots of like the seven caves of Ephesus or something. And we see this story in the Quran. We see a remarkable resemblance between each other that any logical, rational person would say, look, the Quran is copied from all these plethora of different texts, Gnostic. However, when the evidence that you've given between the comparison of Christianity and the texts that predated Christianity, or the tablets in this case, the resemblance is unremarkable. It's as if it's got absolutely nothing to do with the gospel narrative of who Jesus was. So the evidence which you've provided is weak. It's not even evidence at all. All it is just baseless assertions. And unless you can provide for me clear-cut evidences, then you'll have a point. But for now, you have nothing.
Okay, so real quickly, I just want to just back up my Muslims for a hot second and say that the Quran is not copied from any of those texts. Okay, it's not copied. It may have simply inherited the tradition and the culture and everything else, and it may have been influenced, or the people of that era may be influenced by it, but there is no direct copying from it whatsoever. Okay, just to put that out there. And same thing.
Kalam. Again, that's just another assertion.
Well, unless you can find word for word plagiarization going on, I don't think you can make that claim. What you can literally make is an influence or a borrowing of ideas and concepts. That's what you can do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Kalam. That's 100% what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying to you. To say copying, that is a very deep claim that I don't think.
Okay, I see what you mean now. I mean influence. That a lot of the stories that are found in the Quran are very similar and were probably influenced by stories that predated the Quran, and we see a remarkable resemblance between them two. Is that better?
That's the 100% better, and I'm happy with that. I'm not even Muslim, but I have to stick up for my community still. And the same thing as well. I think for my Kemetic audience community, I would say refrain from saying copying and plagiarizing, and exactly what he just explained about influences and remarkable similarities and so forth. Those of us in the Kemetic community, we can all see it. We can all see, all of the stories have a remarkable, similarity. But I don't even want to go there with the brother today, because I think we're going to overload him with information. If we just stick to one topic and one topic alone, then I think that is the better way to do it. And let's be soft and light with the brother. soft and light with the brother, because I know we know all this information, and I don't want to download it, just offload it onto him, and he has no idea on what's going on because he hasn't done enough reading on the subject matter itself. So, my brother, earlier on, you came on and you stated that it's the other way around to say that the Hermetica copied from the Christians. I'm hoping that you've now taken that back and say, okay, maybe not copied. Okay, maybe not copied, because we're seeing them both, transpiring roughly the same time period between the 1st and 2nd century. Okay, so we can't actually make the claim that either one is copying from one another. Can we make the claim that one is influencing another? That is a very good question to actually put forward. Is it influenced from one another? And that type of questioning there, we should have a bit more depth to it. It should have the depth to say, where was each text written? Let's see the underlying concepts. Does it have any origins preceding this one, and so forth and so forth and so forth? And that would be a better way of actually looking at it from a scholastic point of view. Now, personally, I'll put my neck out there and tell you, no, clearly not. Clearly not. There isn't no influencing and borrowing as such from the Christians, or the Christians didn't influence in that respect the Hermetica or Kemetic philosophy, full stop. The Kemetic philosophy, full stop. All of these concepts which we showed earlier on, I actually brought forth to you. What did I bring forth? Let me just quickly share my screen yet again. I brought forth to you guys. This is it here. It's called the Summa Theologica, and this is from St. Thomas Aquinas, and he basically talks about Trismus Gestus, had the same concept, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so this is Christian scholars basically saying before the Christian doctrine of the Trinity was even birthed, okay, this was already prevalent within inside of the ancient Egyptian or the Kemetic philosophy. Okay, this was already there. That whole concept was already there.
Sorry, where in that text does it say that?
It's in the Summa Theologica.
Verse where it says it was influenced by Kemetic philosophy.
I didn't say it. I don't think you're listening to me.
That's exactly what you said. You said the text said it was influenced by Kemetic philosophy.
No, I said the text clearly states that the Kemetic philosophy, the Kemetics, had a Trinity before the Christian Trinity.
Okay, what kind of Trinity? Was it one being of God shared by three divine persons, or was it one God in three parts, or was it three gods working in one purpose?
So before you jump, so before you jump there, yeah, this right here is coming from St. Thomas Aquinas, and he's talking about the Trinity. This is what he's talking about. It's clear as day that he's talking about the Trinity right here. It says here, whether the Trinity, this is the title, whether the Trinity of the divine persons can be known by natural reason. Okay. And the answer is yes, because other cultures came up with the same concept. I know you've been watching Inspiring Philosophy, I believe, Inspiring Philosophy, and they break down there the different types of trinities that's found in Hinduism. It's found in, ancient Egypt and so forth, and how it's a modalistic view, or it's a, tritheism and so forth and so forth. Okay. But right here, he's not talking about that. He's talking about Trinity. And those ones that you saw, yes, I would agree with you. Okay, when you see Horus, Osiris, and Isis, that there is tritheism, that is a triad of deities. This is not what we're talking about right now. Okay, this is definitely not what we're talking about. What we read out to you, that is not the story of Horus, Osiris, and Isis. That is not what we're talking about. This is talking about a trinity. Okay, a triune being. What we read out earlier on, we talked about the Father being mind or nous, giving birth to the Logos, light from light, and so forth. And then there was the life, and then ways there, and all of them are united in one being. That is exactly what the Trinity would be described as. The Trinity is one essence into three divine persons. That is exactly what the Hermetica is actually talking about. And this is clearly, how can I put it, articulated before the Trinity was even penned down penned down, full stop, okay, in the Christian world.
Like I said, Hermetica.
Let me continue, okay? And these types of concepts over here, yeah, go back well into 4,500 BC. Okay, 4,500 BC. These concepts go back to, all right, what we told you at the beginning of the show, that this Hermetica was written during the Greco-Roman period, but the concepts, yeah, go way back into the late Egyptian, go way back into the middle New Kingdom and Old Egyptian. I'm giving you certain things that you should look up. Late Kingdom, 6th century BCE. Middle Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, 1200 BC. Middle Kingdom, 1500 BC. Old Kingdom, 2000 BCE. These are where the concepts are derived from. Okay, these are where the concepts are actually derived from. And then you're going to say to me, I don't know what else you're going to say to me from then, because I'm giving you the information you need. Now, just to quickly do some quick Googlepedia with you guys real quickly. And
Why
this
you
is
do
what,
that?
hold
Why
on,
you
hold on,
do that?
wait. One second, before I lose my trail of thought. Egyptologist Sir William Flinders Petrie states that some texts in the Hermetic corpus date back to the 6th century BCE during the Persian period. Some similarities between the demonic text and Platonic philosophy can be resulted, etc. So it's letting you know, yeah, that these sources go way back. Now, again, let me just stop sharing my screen. Now, if you actually do your due diligence and actually purchase this book itself, okay, and you go through the introduction, and it traces back, like literally in the very introduction of this book, you have, let me see how many pages. You have about 50 pages. Yeah, no, you actually have more. LXX. You have about 80 pages, 85 pages, coming up to 90 pages worth of information that's tracing back the history and where these texts actually are derived from. Okay. And you will see that this goes all the way back to Old Egyptian, way back 4,000, 5,000 years ago. So you stating that Christianity, hold on, Christianity influenced or gave the Kemetics their understanding, it couldn't be further from the truth. One reason being is your Christian scholars such as Thomas Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas, who else was it? Saint Augustine, yeah, and others, yeah, made it quite clear that the ancient Egyptians derived the concept of the Trinity before the Christian era. We go back into the Hermetica, we see it's in there. We go back into the ancient Egyptian text from the late kingdom to the Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, and Old Kingdom, and we see the concept of the Trinity there already. So there ain't nothing that you can possibly say to convince anybody who understands. Hold on, who understands the topic matter to say that the Christian, the Kemetics are copying from the Christians. Like that there is the most ludicrous thing to ever state. Somebody who knows the subject matter.
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry, but I'm getting a little bit frustrated because all Sir William Flinders Petrie said is that some of the text in the Hermetic corpus dates back to the 2nd century BC. For you to have a valid point, you need to bring to me a 6th century or a 6th century writing that talks about the Trinity prior to the advent of Christianity. You do not have that evidence, therefore you cannot make that claim.
Okay, we do have that evidence, yeah.
Okay,
and
okay, if you have that evidence,
just stop for one hot second, okay? Because what you're doing, yeah, is literally arguing from ignorance, and it's something that I don't even want to. I don't even want to entertain.
That's what you're doing,
Stop. Can you just wait and mute your mic? You're arguing from ignorance, okay? What I mean by this is a topic that you do not know anything about at all, okay? You've done one Wikipedia or Google search to find a dating and so forth, yeah, and think that you know something on this topic. And I don't want to be sounding condescending or nothing like that. I'm just simply saying that you do not know this topic matter at all, okay? We could bring out a multitude of text, okay? I can literally just go right now, just extend my hand and put out a text right now and say, boom, read something to you. And you wouldn't have a clue about it. You wouldn't know the time period and so forth. And I'll have to literally go through this with you, explain to you the history of ancient Egypt, where, I wouldn't even utilize that picture, my brother for a hot second, because right there, that is not the Trinity. That would be the that'd be a triad or tritheism.
Kalam, all I'm asking is for one piece of evidence, not a multitude of evidence, of one piece of evidence that the doctrine of the Trinity predated Christianity and had any resemblance to the historic understanding of the doctrine of the Trinity.
I just showed it to you from a Christian scholar.
No,
Christian scholar, Thomas Aquinas, okay, literally told you in there that the Trinity is there from the Kemetics themselves.
Okay, show me where it says that. Just show me one more time, please. Just show me where it says it was influenced by the Kemetics.
I didn't say it was influence. Again, you're conflating the argument. You said, show me where. Okay, listen, I'm telling you this, okay, that the Trinity, the concept of the Trinity was already in Kemetic philosophy, in Kemetic thought. It was already there prior to the Christian Trinity. Okay, I'm not telling you that the Christians copied it from the Kemetics. Okay, I'm not stating that. I'm simply telling you that the ancient Egyptians, i.e., the Kemetics, had the concept of the Trinity prior to Christianity. Do you understand that?
But you've provided. I'm not convinced at all, because I don't really see the evidence is strong for this. I'm sorry, Kalam.
Okay, so look,
as open-minded as possible, but I just can't see it.
Okay, so we read it out earlier on. Okay, this is it right here. You can do a book search. Okay, and it's got right here, Summa Theologica, first part by Saint Thomas Aquinas. Okay, whether the Trinity of the divine persons can be known by natural reason. Okay, whether it can be known by natural reasons. Okay, down here, and Augustine, Saint Augustine, in his confession says, I have read in their works, not in so many words, but enforced by many various reasons, that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and so on, in which passage the distinction of persons is laid down. We read, moreover, in a gloss, okay? So in their own gloss of their own scriptures of Romans 1 and Exodus 8, that the magicians of Pharaoh failed in the third sign, that is, as regards knowledge of a third person of the Holy Ghost. And thus it is clear that they knew at least two persons. Okay, this is Saint what's his name? Augustine's writing and saying this is what they find in their own Romans and Exodus in their gloss. But look here, it says here, likewise, Trismegistus. If you don't know who Trismegistus is, Trismegistus literally means thrice great. This is Jehuti, or otherwise known as Hermes, says the monad begot a monad and reflected upon itself its own heat, by which words the generation of the Son and procession of the Holy Ghost seem to be indicated. Therefore, knowledge of the divine persons can be obtained by natural reason. This is what your own church father, or should I say a person of repute, who's a saint right now, okay, Thomas Aquinas, is writing about, talking about the Trinity and other cultures that knew about the divine persons via natural reason, i.e. via philosophy. So I don't even have to make the claim. I don't even have to go into my own scriptures, own literature to make the claim.
Sorry,
show it from yours.
Kalam, Augustine of Hippo came in the 5th century AD. You haven't proved anything. You need to provide for me the evidence that text goes prior to the time of Christianity. Just because of what one bishop said in the 5th century does not prove your point at all. I'm sorry, Kalam. I'm still not convinced.
Kalam, you see, you see now, Kalam, I'll tell you something, you see now, this is why I said, just stick to the Genesis, the Moses, and Acts. Because when we went to Acts and I asked him the question and he said he don't know where Moses got the education from, we should have just left it there and just said to him, go and do your research and find out what education these Egyptians gave Moses. You see what I'm saying? Just leave it there, because once you start giving him actual text and actual evidence, the brother's not going to see it, bro. Because remember, this is religion that he's fighting. So you have to deal with it in the text. So until he finds out what the education was that the Egyptians gave to Moses, then he's not gonna hear none of this. So where
Watch
he
this.
says he don't know, leave him to go and find out, and that's that.
Watch this now. So listen, ex-Muslim, look at this Muhammad Ayer's book, right? Our premise is this: all civilizations have this psychological exchange, philosophy exchange. They all do it. I don't know where you're getting it from. Like, people going to be around each other and not take certain things from each other. That's the premise, and that's been shown through history, through inventions and trade, right? So the Muhammad heirs, right? This is the scholarly community, the rise of the scholarly community in the Muslim, 6th century, right? So prior to the 6th century, no scholars. That's what they was basically saying, right? So when you look in here, right, it says perfectly reasonable that Ibn al-Khattab, right, and the other historians treat the past as a mirror to the present, but the activity forces them to suppress evidence or to engage in selective memory. For example, nowhere in the accounts is there a mention of influence of non-Muslim on the development of Muslim concept of scholarship, even though, as I will discuss below, some narrative sources claim that the Prophet himself ordered Zayd and others to study at the Bayat al-Madriz in Medina. Given the presence of active Christian and Jewish scholarly communities in the Near East during this period, we should at least consider possibly that the people of knowledge referred to by the Quran are not Muslim scholars, but Jewish and Christian scholars, right? So you dudes, them dudes came in the 6th century talking to Christians and Jewish people, and where them Christians and Jewish people was at, they was in Egypt. You understand? If Moses came out of Egypt and made the 10 Commandments, right? Then he was the father of that particular sect of Judaism that people call Hebrew today, right? So he was in Egypt, then he left, right? Then you dudes came from out the desert and started conversing with people. So this is proof in the sense because they got the texts right here, right? As the Arabic makes clear, the phrase "ask the people of remembrance if you do not know." So you was asking people. You didn't come up with none of these philosophies yourself. Everybody was talking to everybody. That is the premise, and that is the conclusion. And then people leave and derive their own concepts after they leave. All right? So we will all get together. What's your concept of God? Hey, what's your concept of God? My concept of God is this. And then by the time you go back to your civilization, you probably edited or derived a better understanding. But this is what they're saying. You understand? In other words, people of remembrance appear to be experts on Hebrew scriptures. These findings may be surprising, but they accord with the Quranic verse that explicitly mentions the ulama. All right? So there's nothing to talk about, man. You over there, Muslims is over there talking to Jewish people, talking to Christian people, and them Jewish and Christian people, where was they? Hebrews and all of them, they was in Kemet. There's nothing else to talk about, man. Nothing else to talk about, man.
Okay, after all that rant, you still haven't provided any evidence that Kemetic philosophy influenced Christianity. Next question.
Well, you know what you do? You take it up with Cambridge, bruh. You take it up with them. Don't take it up with me. Take it up with Cambridge. All right? All right? That's the top school out there.
You have provided no evidence whatsoever.
Listen. Whoever you drawing your information from, if they went to Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, this is where I'm getting my books from. Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard. This is where I'm getting my books from. So that's the whole point I'm saying. All these scholars, where are they learning at? It don't make no sense. Nah, you don't make no sense. This was written by scholars. Hold up. This was written by scholars, brother. This book was written by scholars. All right.
Okay. Show me where that. Show me
where
that book.
I showed you.
Let me do something real quickly. Let me do something real quickly.
I'm really tired and I want to go to bed.
Let me do something.
Callum, you know what? Just cut it short.
Let me do something real quickly, okay? Because sometimes, you just have to just do this. I actually had to just get a book real quickly and do this. So right now, I'm going to quote from you, from the Leiden Papyrus. The Leiden Papyrus is actually of the 19th dynasty, i.e. during the rough time period of 1292 BCE to 1182 BCE. That's roughly about over 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. Okay, before the birth of Christ, and in there, it literally lets you know this. Okay, the god Amun. Sorry, Amun was really three gods in one. We have three gods in one. Ra was his face, Ptah his body, and Amun his hidden identity. The well-known historian, etc., concurs that Ra, Amun, and Ptah were combined as three embodiments or aspects of one supreme and triune deity. That's from the Oriental Heritage 2001. I'm actually going to read something else to you real quickly. Since,
Checkmate. It's
hold
checkmate
on.
already, buff.
You know, let me just read this. So this is it right here. We've got The Search for God in Ancient Egypt from Jan Assmann. Okay, and over here again, it tells you that the group of three is not triadic. Okay, it's not triadic. It makes it very clear, but Trinitarian. Okay, Trinitarian, the bar, image, and body of the God as the three constituent elements of his person, in which his transcendent essence unfolds in an immanent world, thereby producing the three-tiered arrangement of the cosmos in sky, earth, and netherworld. All right, and this is again, all the gods are three: Amun, Ra, and Ptah, who have no equal, etc. So,
Kalam, what was the first text that you read? Where's that source from? I want to look at it myself in my spare time.
okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't think you'll be able to have access to the Papyrus Laden and actually able to read it, but I will give you where you can quote, where you can see it. So if you want to go anywhere like Christ in Egypt, the Horus Jesus connection is right there, or you can simply go here, which is called Elohim, they are God. Okay, but the actual papyrus itself is coming from the Leiden Papyrus I-350. So let me just quickly show you the Leiden Papyrus. Let's quickly do this for you. Papyrus, and I want to get I-350. There we go. I-350 from Leiden Papyrus. Okay. Okay. Unfortunately, let's quickly go into books. All right, but you can go and you'll find the Leiden Papyrus. Maybe not there. You'll find it. It's either in a university somewhere or museum. Sorry, the museum. My bad. What am I saying? University museum. Okay, and it's right here. The Leiden Papyrus. That's it in its actual form. The Leiden Papyrus. And I know you won't be able to read this, so I'm not even going to stress your mind. Now, I'll simply direct you to any source that quotes Leiden Papyrus I-350, such as the Elohim, they are God. And then you can simply go here and then you can click on any of them that actually quote the Leiden Papyrus I-350, written in the 19th dynasty. Now, let me ask you a question. Does that constitute evidence enough for you to let you know that the ancient Egyptians had a concept of a Trinity?
Not in a very orthodox sense. That sounds more of a partialism type of sense. But I can see how you might see the resemblance between those two. So I'll have to go and do my own research, and I'll come back to you on that.
Okay. Sometimes, no matter what you give to people, they don't want to accept it. But
no, all I said is I need to go over it myself. What's wrong with that?
All right, because you said it was partialism. Okay, partialism. So you're not accepting that it is the Trinity. You're thinking it's partialism, where it's not partialism. It's literally what the Trinity would be. Okay, literally that is the same.
And the three gods were called Amun, Ra, and then Ptah. Is that correct?
Yeah, go and do the research.
Amun, Ra, Ptah. You could also look at another triune principle as well, which is Ra, Ma'at, and Jehuti. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. No problem. So yeah, family tree. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else before we close it down? You know, like I really didn't want to go through that long thing. I just had to quickly just pull out one book real quickly. Yeah. And I knew I wasn't trying to go there. I wasn't trying to go there today. But yeah, yeah, let me know, family, what you got to say before we close down, because we've gone way over time.
Yeah, Scholar Gang.
Gang, gang, gang. Yeah.
Kalam,
What I gotta say is donate.
Kalam, can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
It just says here, right? This is just a quick Wikipedia source of Ptah. In Egyptian mythology, Ptah is the demiurge of Memphis, god of craftsmen and architects. In the triad of Memphis, he is the spouse of Sekhmet and the father of Nefertim. Again, sounds nothing like the doctrine of the Trinity.
And the father of Jesus. Wikipedia? I thought you said you needed real sources, and now you're going to go there? We can't accept that one.
You know
need a
what?
real
We need to
source.
do this offline.
Offline.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Okay. Unfortunately, my brother, what you're doing, yeah, is quick Wikipedia searches or Google scholarship, yeah, in order to refute or object to the information presented. What I would love for you to do is just take some time out, really just digest the information. Okay, digest the information. And what's going to be difficult for you is this, yeah, in digesting the information is not being rooted or grounded in Kemetic philosophy and the symbology. So you're going to go to Wikipedia and whatever the case is, and you're going to see certain things that to you, you're looking at it from Christian or whatever world viewpoint you're looking from, and not really what the Kemetic, philosophy is actually espousing. So take some time out, read the information that's been presented to you. Okay, don't try to quickly, object to it, because what you've already got is your mind made up. You've got your mind made up to think that nobody could have come up with the idea of the Trinity before Christianity arose on the scene. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, you're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. Just take your time out, really soak in the information, and then once you've familiarized yourself with it, weigh up the arguments, weigh up the Christian Trinity. Like, look into how the the early church fathers described the Trinity itself. Look how the Trinity is actually spoken about today, and then really try to see, do you see the similarities or do you see the distinctions? And if there is any distinctions, come forward, and I would invite you to come forward and point out the distinctions that you've seen, and come with it in a really well formatted way, than simply just trying to do a quick playing tennis, like, look, I got you, no, look, I got you back.
Okay,
It's
I
really
completely understand what you're saying, Paul. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm off to bed. Initially, just to an overview of this, you quoted Hermetica, where it talked about the Father and the Son of God and the Word and the Light and all this stuff, and we established that you can't conclusively say that this is what influenced the Christian narrative. Why? Because the dates, if anything, seem to come after the Christian narrative. And you still, just to bear this in mind, you still have not provided any evidence of this concept of the Father and the Son and the Word and the Light that predated the time of Christianity. And the other stuff which you've mentioned, I'm going to go and look it up. I'm going to do my own research, and I'll come back.
Can I just ask you one question first, though?
No, you can't.
First.
Okay, so again, yeah, what I would love for you guys to do, because my brother, I understand. Okay, my brother, what we really need you to do is digest the information. I would also suggest, okay, just buying this book. Just buy this book. Okay, this will set you back about 25 to 35 pounds. Buy this book, okay? And all the information that I think or all your questions that you actually have will literally be answered in the first 70 pages of that book. Okay, the very first 70 pages of that book. And unfortunately, we don't have the time. This wasn't the how can I put it, the purpose of this particular show, to really dive into the actual opening and get into the commentary of what is actually occurring. Where is these texts actually coming from? Where in the ancient Egyptian philosophy do we have the concept of the Father and the Son and the light and the life and all of these high-tech concepts of the Logos and all these things here? Now, for most of us who understand Kemetic philosophy, all we need to do is bring up an image, okay? An image. They say that a picture or an image is louder than 1,000 words. For us, we can see that image and we can break down the symbology, and we fully well can see it. But for you, as somebody who don't understand that, it's going to take a very long time to really sit down with you and explain that to you. But for most of us I know most of us here, we know the Ennead principle. We know about Shu, Atum or Ra and Shu and Tefnut. It's all there straight away. We've got it right there. For those of us who knows about, the solar bark and the journey through, the journey through the skies, or journey through Nut, or journey through Amduat, and we know about Jehuti and Ma'at being at either side, i.e. representing the word of logos, or the ability to speech and reasoning. We see it there. We actually understand that the principle of Ma'at being the winged goddess, i.e. being the spirit, i.e. being the breath that the God lives upon, and so forth. We understand it. It's all there for us already because we know it. But to really sit down with you and break that down, that there literally it's going to take a long while for you to, if you even really want to know and actually understand, it's going to take us a long while for us to sit down with you to say, remove Christianity from your brain for a hot second. Stop thinking from a Christian paradigm. Remove that for a hot second. Sit down, humble yourself, and just take in this new information on this new way of learning. And then after you've been filled, your cup has been filled in that sense, now take some time and actually compare from the African way of thinking, or the African philosophy, or Kemetic philosophy, and now weigh it up. Okay, compare and contrast the your Judeo-Christian understanding of the Trinity, and then then we can have a proper conversation instead of this quick back and forth Google scholarship. All right, who wanted to say something before we close it out? Nobody.
You stole the show, baby. You did it. You did your thing. Shout out to my brother ex-Muslim, everybody in the chat. I'm just messing with y'all in there. And go back to the old text so you can get an understanding of your new text.
That's right. And sorry actually, I didn't get a chance to I see you lot writing some questions in there. I didn't get a chance to respond to your questions, but if you guys would like to come on, please come on here and have your questions actually answered. Okay. Unfortunately, we can't do it right now, but what I will do is post a link if I can, and maybe once we go off air, you'll be able to come on with us. So let me just quickly post it. I'm going to post it here, and because we're actually going off air, even if somebody tried to hack us right now, it wouldn't matter. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm speaking right now, I'm giving you the link to join us. Okay, so literally underneath, if you refresh your screen, you will find there is a link called join us. Okay, join us. All right, and you'll be able to join us, quite literally. You'll be able to join us by simply clicking that link. I'm actually going to share my screen with you so you guys can see it. Okay. Waiting for it to reload. There you go. It's reloaded. So right now, all you have to do is click join us right there on Google Hangouts, and it will open up a new screen for you, and you'll be able to join us. Again, I would love for you guys to download this link here. I've literally got this link here for you guys to be able to read our Kemetic literature itself and get informed with it. And of course, if you lot would love to donate, I'm sure that there is donate links here like PayPal and where else? What do we have here? I'm sure we have like a GoFundMe, a Patreon, and so forth. You can always click the download. You can always click there to support us, or you can simply click the super chat here and donate to us as well. And also, please don't forget to hit the like button. And, real quickly, this is something that actually got me interested in doing this topic today. I'm going to quickly show it to you, and maybe you lot might catch jokes, maybe you might not catch jokes, but let me just see what you lot think of this. Sorry, I just realized it's on some mad speed. Let me do 1.25. Can I get you guys to mute your mic real quickly? Mute your mic. All right. When you come in, please mute your mic.
So today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about the importance of abandoning your views and your opinions, even your logic and your own personal intellect, abandoning it and disregarding it when it comes to the sunnah. If the Sunnah and your intellect seem to be in opposition. If they seem to be in opposition, you abandon what? Which one do you abandon? You abandon your intellect. You abandon your views. Because your views and your intellect is deficient. And the Sunnah is coming from Allah. As we mentioned in the previous. Allah is revealing that to the Prophet the same way He revealed the Quran to the Prophet. So Allah, His knowledge is complete. His wisdom is complete. Yours, all of our intellects are incomplete. All of our, therefore, views and opinions are going to be deficient and incomplete and lacking. So in that situation, I will in a heartbeat abandon my own personal views, my own personal feelings, my own personal thoughts, and totally abandon it and submit myself to the statements of Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm going to give an example of what I mean right here. Ali radiallahu anhu, he said.
So I was watching this, yeah, and I was like, you said what? Abandon your logic and intellect and submit? Bruv, if you listen, yeah, I wish we get to the, I beg, maybe we might have it in here, yeah. If you get to the good bit, it might be like a 5-minute mark, yeah. My man said, yeah, be slaves, obey. That's all you need to do is obey. Don't matter what. No, let's see if we can get it, bruv. I was like, you said what?
That if this religion was a religion based on views, a religion based on opinions, a religion based on intellect.
Sorry, let me speed it up, though.
Then when we wipe over our socks, we would wipe the bottom of our socks. Because in our religion, that if a person has already done wudu and he puts socks on, and he breaks his wudu and he hasn't taken socks off, but he was going to stay wudu before he put socks on, then he can go and basically wipe over his socks. He can wipe over it. Now pay attention. Ali radiallahu anhu is trying to bring an important point to our attention. He's saying this religion, if it was a religion of logic, if it was a religion of intellect, a religion based on views and opinions, yeah, then he said based on our intellect, it would make sense that we would wipe the bottom of the socks. Because when you walk on your feet, if there was something that was going to get dirty, it would be the bottom, right? But he said we don't wipe the bottom, we wipe the top. That's what makes sense logically. So why do you wipe the top? He said, وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He said, I saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Man said, if our religion was based on logic and intellect, but it's not, Lord God, let me continue. Wait, 1 second. I want you guys to dissect this in a hot second, but just wait. Let's just get a few more gist of what my man said.
And he was wiping over the top of his socks to show you that this religion is not a religion of logic. It's a religion of following. It's a religion, a religion of obeying, submitting, taslim. We're slaves. The slave is told right now, abandon your intellect. Okay, this Allah is not legislating based on what makes sense according to you or my intellect.
Rewind it and slow that bit down.
Bro, did you hear that though? Yeah.
Yeah. Rewind it and slow that down.
Slow it down. Let me slow it down. Slow it down.
He said, وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He said, I saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and he was wiping over the top of his socks to show you that this religion is not a religion of logic. It's a religion of following. It's a religion, a religion of obeying, submitting. We're slaves. The slave is told right now, abandon your intellect. Okay, this Allah is not legislating based on what makes sense according to you or my intellect. Allah is legislating based on His wisdom, His divine, unlimited wisdom. And the fact that He is our Lord and we have to submit. We are slaves. We are the ones who will be questioned. He is not the one who will be asked. We will be told why. He will not be asked why, Ya Rabb. No, Allah tells us do and we do. And that's what we are being trained to do here. That even though you might say based on our intellect, it makes sense to wipe over the bottom. But it's not based, the religion was never based on intellects. It doesn't oppose the intellects. It goes hand in hand with the intellects. Sometimes you may not understand the wisdom from your intellect because...
Bruv? Did you not get that, bruv?
Yeah, man, I heard that's crazy still.
Bruv, and this is why this is the type of people that we're dealing with.
He uses an analogy that my boy Abu Dawood put forth. So I know he listened to Abu Dawood tape because Abu Dawood said that first a long time ago. He said, if the religion was based, and Abu Dawood used to hang with Sheikh Bilal Phillips, so I already know where he gets his information from. But just because you wipe over the top of your socks does not mean that you stop using your intellect. And it definitely should not be used as a means for you to turn off your thinking process and just go with the will of Allah, so to speak. You better use your brain, because if the bottom of your foot is dirty and you get a staph infection and you keep wiping over the top of your foot instead of the bottom where the infection is at, you'll never get the cure. So I see why we got an ex-Muslim on the panel today. Use your brains. Round her.
Ross Clark brains, G.
What about me?
And let me just quickly say, yeah, I do not yet. Yeah, well, I don't want to say I'm mocking, yeah, but I am gonna make fun of this in a hot second, like, yeah, because the moment you tell me to leave my intellect, leave my logic aside, and be a good slave and obey, taslim, submit. Wow, no, I'm a black man. Okay, any African black man, Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean, yeah, Afro-European, or whatever the case is, bruv, yeah, we're not doing those things, bruv. And I hope, yeah, like this really separates, yeah, the house Negro from the field Negro. This separates, yeah, the bloody Negroes, bruv, the slave mentality, yeah, from the God mentality or the children of God mentality. The children of God is not going to abandon their logic and reasoning. Listen, we was created in and after the image of God. You know who the image of God was? Do you know who the image of God was? It was the logos. It's the blood clot logos. It's your ability to reason and rationalize. Don't tell me to put that down for nothing, bruv, and tell me to submit. Submit to who? Submit to who? Allah is a concept, an intangible concept who cannot enforce anything on this physical plane in terms of humanity without an enforcer, okay? Without some form of enforcer. So what you're really telling me to do is to submit to those people who are claiming to be Allah's enforcers. And who is that? Humanity, some type of man, some type of sheikh, some type of imam, some type of ustad, some type of ulama, some type of some other human, yeah, that you're trying to put in place, yeah, over me, telling me you must obey, you must submit, you must not think, you must not use your intellect, just be a good slave. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. And just to put it out there, this is not what the Rasul actually taught. Yeah, let me teach you what the Rasul taught. Not even about hadiths, you know, let alone hadiths. This is what the Rasul taught, yeah, about the Quran. Let me do this for you guys real quickly. For some of my Muslims here who fall victim, yeah, to these types of teachings here. Like, if anybody teaches you those things there, run far away, bro. That's slavery, mental slavery being perpetuated. This is from Bukhari, yeah. It says here, narrated by Jundab ibn Abdullah. It says here, Allah's messenger, okay, peace be upon him and his family, said, recite the Quran as long as your hearts are in agreement as to its interpretation and meaning. But when you have differences regarding its interpretation and meaning, then you should stop reciting it for the time being. You dig what I'm saying? That is what you need to do. You need to stop reciting it. You need to contemplate it. You need to think about it. You need to rationalize it, and you need to allow it to make sense to you. If it doesn't make no sense to you, put that ish down. You dig what I'm saying? Put that down before you put down your intellect. This is the teaching of the Rasul himself. Go ahead.
That's right. That's right, baby. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man. No more mythos of slavery. We ain't with that shit. I don't want to see another slave movie. I'm nothing slave, nothing. You understand? So I ain't being a slave to nobody, nothing. My people are trying to shake that slavery mantra. Every time there's a movie, you seeing us as slaves. I don't care where it's at. Game of Thrones. I don't care where. So why would I sit here and go, oh, it's all about the word, be a slave? No, I am not taking none of that slave nonsense with me to my grave, man. You could do it, but I'm not doing it. We tired of that slave stuff over here in America anyway. We ain't with that no more. That's all I want to say.
That's it. Straight. Allow me. That's why we, as I said, when we started this thing off, we showed you we deal with knowledge. We wanted to deal with reality. We said, we do not want to deal with falsehood and fantasy. We want to deal with reality now. We want to sit down and contemplate reality. We want to meditate upon reality. We want to do what? Utilize our consciousness to learn, understand, and know. Know what? Know what is real. Know thyself, know the mysteries of the universe, and you will know God. And once you know God, you will be in that bliss. You will be in that happiness. You will be in that joy. You will be overwhelmed with absolute goodness and beauty. Don't deal with no belief, my brothers and sisters. Stop it. Stop dealing with that. Okay, especially my Muslims, I'm speaking to you right now. Allah in his Quran doesn't tell you to believe in him. I hope you know that, he doesn't tell you to believe in him. And regardless of your translations here that they give to you, it doesn't say that. It tells you to know Allah. Okay, so know Allah. Okay, know la ilaha illallah. That's what it tells you in the Quran. All right, make sure you put that at your forefront. It tells you to know. Don't deal with beliefs. Don't deal with accepting. Don't deal with slavery. All right, don't deal with none of those things there. Know your God. Know the universe. Know yourself before you start bowing down to anything. All right. God damn. Crazy. And we are the ones that have to come on here, yeah, and have to educate everybody. You know what them ways there? Like over here, we educate everybody. Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, Sikh, Kemet, Black Power, everything. Everybody comes on here for education because we're not dealing with beliefs. We're dealing with straight knowledge. My brother Joe Haslam has just joined us. Let me say assalamu alaikum to you, King, before we shut it down. What are you saying?
Check.
Rich kid, go ahead, King.
Yeah, peace to the panel. I was going to say no swearing on the show, Kalam.
No what?
No swearing on the show.
Oh man. All right, so yeah, family, again, you've hit the links, you're joining in, so I'm going to see you guys on the other side. So please right now hit the like button, hit the like button, share this like crazy, let the whole world know that we was live tonight. I think we should really break this show up into 2 parts. Okay, so I'm going to try to edit it where we have the first half where we're just dealing straight with the Hermetica, the second half where we're dealing with more like a discussion debate, because I think the show has gone over to the 3rd hour mark already. So family, we're going to see you guys on the other side. Peace and love, and we're going to continue having these dialogues till the early hours of the morning as per usual. Peace and love. I'll see you guys on the other side.
Scholar gang.
Man. Scholar, young, Kelly,
Oh
Daisy,
man.
Chase.